Let me record. Cool. So welcome everyone. It's lovely to have you all here, and we're really excited to be doing another of our kind of showcases of our Tech for Better projects. This time it's spring and it is sunny today, which is exciting. And yeah, let me dive into a brief kind of introduction about Tech for Better, just to kind of outline what we'll cover this evening. I'll start with a kind of welcome. We've got two presentations today, SE Boost and Lusan, which are our two MVP projects presented by our product teams with their product owners as well. So let me briefly introduce Tech for Better. For those of you who maybe are less familiar with the program, or even if you are familiar with it, it changes often. So let me reintroduce it. So in Tech for Better, we kind of focus on this product management training for people in the social sector, people who want to learn more about managing digital products. And we kind of feel the best approach to that is through hands-on experience. We feel like there's a little bit of a gap in the market in terms of like there's a lot of theoretical understanding, but like there's much less opportunities to really work with developers. So we've always used Tech for Better as a kind of platform and opportunity to, yeah, like provide that training across the sector. And generally, we're doing that for free as well. Our apprentice developers on our full-time kind of web development training are building MVPs at the end of their training as part of the design, test and build program, which is one half of Tech for Better. And that's in collaboration with real product owners, with real kind of product ideas, with a social impact. Something that's a little bit newer to the program is that last year we introduced a series of workshops which kind of form the product management training. We've had different forms of this in the past, but we've made that a much more kind of structured and deliberate part of our Tech for Better program over the past year. So we now have a cohort of product owners going through that training together, learning from one another, and some key kind of outputs along the way. So yeah, those workshops are built from stuff we've done in the past, different kind of versions of our Tech for Better program, and other engagements in the kind of social sector. We've worked a lot with Catalyst in the past, and we've run different versions of Tech for Better for different groups of people, for cohorts of charities. What we've always focused on at Founders of Coders is peer-led learning. So learning from one another rather than having this kind of teaching through kind of theoretical understanding, much more kind of hands-on experience. So that program itself, the kind of workshops as part of the product management training, there's 5 of those in total. The first is pitching a product idea. And I guess the key output there is coming up with a problem statement. How do we define the problem and how it affects our users in a kind of one-sentence summary? We then move on to discovery workshops. So coming up with user personas, writing a user research script. We ask our product owners then to conduct some user research, ideally with the real user group, and getting that feedback, you know, finding out, are we in the right kind of area with our problem statement? Do we really understand the needs of our users? We then analyze the research, so that's something that our product owners do kind of in collaboration with each other, as well as with our product teams, with our developers, and generating insights out of that. So what have we found out from speaking to our users? Then the final workshop in this series is managing and scoping digital product. So breaking it down into user stories. And I guess that's the main output of that kind of final part of the training, is having a core set of user stories for this product that our product owners have in mind. So yeah, we've run a few iterations of this now. As I say, it's come from our kind of historical engagements in the social sector. And I guess what I'm saying here is like we're continuing to improve the program, and each iteration brings new light on kind of what we could improve moving forward, what we can kind of change about the program, so that it meets the needs both of our product owners and of our developers. So yeah, after that series of workshops, we select product ideas. This time we've had 2 product teams. So we selected 2 product ideas to design, test, and build. And that's the kind of second half of our Tech for Better program. So we've got 2 products and we're going to showcase them this evening. So let me maybe segue there into our first presentation, which will be from Essay Boost. So let me stop sharing my screen here and I'll pass over to Oliver, Adam, Paolo, and Ollie.
Great, thanks, Gregor. Hopefully everyone can see this okay. I'm going to full screen. And we can, tell you a little bit about Exam Boost. So yeah, we're part of Team Exam Boost, and this is our Tech for Better presentation. So who's in our team? It's made up of me, that's Ollie, Adam and Paolo in the developers, and also our product owner, who's Oliver. Over to you, Paolo, to tell you a little bit about the process.
Thanks, Ollie. Yeah, the process of building our app spanned over a period of 3 weeks, 1 week going over the discovery and definition workshops and design process, and then we had 2 1-week-long build sprints. Next slide, please. Our design week started with revisiting and defining the problem statement for the project. We made the most of the feedback the product owner obtained conducting a user research that was based on questions we previously agreed on together. Next slide, please. And we identified our main stories, and they can be summarized to being able to allow a neurodiverse or international student to write, store, and download an essay, making the most of Oliver's methodology and the available resources. Next slide, please. After defining our core user stories, we had a brainstorming session related to the challenges that might come with building the app. Next slide, please. And we identified the main ones to be mapping the user journey through the app content, allowing them to write their essay in a non-linear way, making the application comprehensive, representative of the Essay Boost methodology, but at the same time making it easy to use, engaging and appealing, allowing the user to switch between different themes and using colors that make the app more intuitive to interact with, choosing the right strategy to store the data entered by the user, and finally converting the final essay into a PDF file or Microsoft document and allowing the user to download it. Next slide, please. We then spent some time getting inspiration from websites already present on the web. We wanted to achieve a simple, clean design with enough call to action points to allow the user to never feel lost while navigating the app and always feel engaged and supported in the process of writing an essay, giving them easy access to the resources. Next slide, please. And this allowed us to produce an interactive wireframe using Figma that we use to conduct our usability testing sessions with 7 sample users. Next slide, please. And the usability testing phase allowed us to really understand our target user, and we learned that, for example, some people with dyslexia don't necessarily write essays in a linear way. They might want to start writing from the conclusion instead of starting from the introduction. Also, other than for accessibility, colors are really important because they make writing an essay less boring and make it easier to follow the steps of the Essay Boost methodology. We also realized that we had not thought about a tutorial on how to use the main features of the app and how to get access to the available resources. And finally, some of the interactive elements we used were either placed in the wrong spot or were not designed with an accessible, simple to understand approach. And next slide, please. And after collecting all this information at the end of the design week, we had a synthesis phase that helped us deciding on which technologies to use and which new technologies to research and possibly implement. Next slide, please. And at the end, we ended deciding that we would have used the Next.js framework, the Chakra UI library to build our application. And we used the relational Postgres database hosted on Supabase, and we also deployed them ourselves. And I'll pass it on to Ollie for a quick demo.
Okay, so that's just a top level overview. Our application is a web application and it's to help students write their essays. But probably the best way to show you is to show a demo. So I'm going to show a pre-recorded video. You might want to turn your volume up just so you can hear. Okay, welcome to Essay Boost. I'm really looking forward to showing you what we've been building over the last couple of weeks. Let's get started. So we're going to sign up with a new user. Let's call them James. And once they sign up, they'll be directed to this page. This page has a tutorial video from our product owner explaining a little bit about the app and how it works and what the key features are. Let's continue to the home page. For new users that have just signed up, the home page doesn't have much on it because we haven't made any essays yet. So let's go ahead and write a new essay. Head over to create new essay, and we're going to add in our first title. This will take us to the essay overview page, and it shows the different sections of any essay, including introduction, main body paragraphs, and conclusion. But before we do any of that, let's head over to the planning section. Planning section has a spider diagram in which students can fill out different sections of the spider diagram according to the topics to create ideas for writing their essay. I'm just going to write some dummy text in now, but come back and do this properly later. Next, let's head over to the introduction. Now this shows sort of the main benefit of our application is that people can break down their essays into different sections and they get assistance on how to write each part. So for instance, for the summary, there's some suggestions for how to start writing a summary. There's a worked example, and also there's a video tutorial for writing an introduction. Any planning text that a user has used will come up here, and that comes from the spider diagram. The important thing is that users can save this at any point and then return to see that they have all of their text still saved there so they can edit at any point. I'm now going to spend some time actually creating a proper essay going through the different sections. All right, so now I've completed all the different sections. We can see that we have this nice bold outline over each box, and we're now in a position to have a look at the final essay. So this screen here shows the final essay. It's still completely editable, we can go back, but let's have a look now at what it looks like when we try and export it. So one of the key features of this application is that we can export our work to a Word document. Let's have a look at that. Here it is, and it's nicely formatted. And also, it's possible to export this as a PDF. From the home page, we can see that our essay is here, and if we add multiple, these will line up and stack up. We can edit them from here, we can view the final results, and we can actually also delete them. One thing I wanted to mention is that we have got dark mode, and this is available both from the main page and also in the navigation. We also have a resources page where people can access all the videos of our product owner, as well as guides and a word bank. And it's worth mentioning that all of the data is stored securely in our database, and that users can actually reset their password if they use a real email. That pretty much is a good summary of the app and the demonstration, where we urge you to check it out yourself and see what you think of it. Thanks for listening to the demonstration, and hope you enjoy the rest of the talks. Okay, I'm now going to hand over to Adam to talk about a bit of the summary and review.
Thank you, Olu. So what did we learn? We learned a variety of new technologies, such as Chakra UI to design the app, JS PDF and docx.templator to allow the users to export their essays, Vimeo to stream the videos of the PO in the app, and also how to negotiate with the PO on what to prioritize for MVP and how the end product will look like at the end. Next slide, please. We also learned how to manage state with Next.js using cookies also, so that whenever the user were to swap to different pages, the data will be preserved. Also, user testing was super helpful since it exposed many important bugs within our application, and also the feedback was key in the process of building the app. Next slide, please. So what we're proud of, exporting essays, using the Word and PDF export libraries. So with these libraries, we don't only allow the users to create the essays, but we will also allow them to export them so they can send these to the teachers to get feedback, or just use it for saving it for their own benefit. The design, since we're not designers ourselves, we use Chakra UI, and the design in the end looked really good, and the users liked it as well. Authentication, ability to create accounts, reset their passwords using Superbase and SendGrid. Next slide, please. Other goals to work on. So if we had more time, we would work on implementing a rich text editor for the user to customize the essays, such as making the text bold, increasing the font size, highlighting, underlining, etc. Allowing teachers to create an admin account to access student essays in one place and give them feedback, and going beyond the toggle mode to toggle to dark mode and allow users to customize more aspects of the application to make the user experience more enjoyable / easier to write essays. Next slide. Now pass on to our PO, Oliver.
Thanks very much. I hope you can hear me okay. Maybe just a little nod, that would be great. Thank you very much. Okay, so I think I've got about 2 minutes to get through this content. So I'll just take you through a brief history of the project and then a few comments about what I learned from the process and a little bit about a few other details along the way. So a bit about the history of the project. So really the idea started when about 2 or 3 things happened to me, roughly speaking, in the period 2007 to 2011. So the sort of coincidence of situations were that I became an exam marker to make a bit of extra money originally, and then I used that to segue into a teaching job whereby I was teaching in a tutorial college for students with parents who tended to be, to use a phrase, high net worth individuals or celebrities. So it was a very unusual testing ground because, unlike in most environments, money was no object. What mattered was results. So if it took 20 hours, that was absolutely fine, just so long as it worked. And it turned out to be an excellent testing ground for some ideas I've been working on in the previous few years when I was hopeful of a research career in psychology. So I put together the exam marking knowledge, the interest in psychology and teacher training. Then I applied for a national lottery grant, and then that produced a book. And then the book allowed me to have a sort of social enterprise come teacher training organization, whereby I could use those materials in different applications and deliver them for different audiences. And then the pandemic came along, and I thought one option for how I might deliver those materials is computerized software of some kind. I'd previously been told it was far too expensive to do anything like that. So when I heard about this project, I was absolutely delighted to get involved, and I was really over the moon to be selected to have an app made. I think now it's a good time to go to the next slide, guys. So if we move on. Okay, so what did I learn? Well, I suppose we can break it down into, I think, 3 distinct phases. First of all, that a process of sifting and selection. There's a quotation from Saint X, which is roughly, you reach a state of completeness, not when there's something more to add, but when there's nothing left to take away. And I feel like that's the take-home message here. It was a case of saying, what can we take away and still not lose functionality? And I think, in a sense, the answer is that image you see on the screen. I think that is a crystallization of a minimum viable product that you can usefully go through those stages and write something that you'd be proud to call an essay. And if you follow those steps, you will produce something useful. And it's likely to help people who are currently rather under-supported. So I think there's a lot of value there. And I also think it's, for quite a complex process, really quite simple. So I think the coders have done a great job of making a complex operation look simple. One of the technical aspects I learned was that spider diagrams are very difficult to code, surprisingly so, and that they also can be very fiddly in other ways, like putting them into documents. So it was a really great experience to see what is technically complex, what isn't technically complex, and linking that to the first point about using agile testing to make sure that we get the most for the time we have. That said, it really is surprising how much you can pick up in 2 weeks. And I'm really delighted by the integration, which I think is probably the best feature of those different aspects. And I think you saw that very well on the introduction screen, whereby you can get the video, you get the writing, you get the worked example all in one screen, which I think is really quite an achievement in 2 weeks. Okay, if we can move on to the next slide. Okay, so what next? Well, here are a couple of ideas. Roughly speaking, I'm looking to expand it, and there are a couple of ideas I've had so far. One of them is to approach an organization in the field called the Education Endowment Foundation, and they take on new projects and they provide a kind of evidence base and they trial out new ideas. An application is with them already to have a go at a dyslexia intervention, although I won't know the outcome of that for some months. There's also a connection I have with a business enterprise hub in Newcastle, and I'll be contacting them in the near future to show them the prototype and see what happens after that. Otherwise, I'm actively looking, and we will see what that active search generates in the next few months. And that's it from me.
Thanks, Oliver. Yeah, that's the end of our presentation. I think we're ready to hand over to the other group. Thanks for listening.
Amazing. Thank you, team. And yeah, amazing to see how far this product has come from a kind of pen and paper strategy right through to a digital product that really directly kind of serves the needs of the user group. So let me invite everyone to unmute yourselves and click away and celebrate the success of the team. Fantastic. And let's pass over to Rachel, Orion, Mia, Millie, and Juliet for Lucen.
Sorry, yeah, I'm just getting to share my screen. Okay. So, yeah, we are Lucen, selecting seeds made simple, and I will pass it over to Rachel Post for the first slide.
Hi there. Can everyone hear me okay? Yes? All right. So I'm Rachel Post. I'm the product owner for Lucen, and I started working on this idea as part of my MBA program at the University of Edinburgh. I grew up on a farm in America, which is actually where I am right now, visiting my family. And so I saw what gardeners and growers had to go through to actually develop and find the right seeds for where they live. And unfortunately, if you're a gardener, you may recognize this, but the e-commerce experience and actually the shopping experience in general for seeds really hasn't changed in about 400 years. People still use paper catalogs. They may use websites, but they're basically very similar to a catalog itself in design. And you may have to shop across multiple companies to find the exact product that you want. So it's very time consuming. It's not very effective. There's just much better ways to buy plants and seeds online. And living in Scotland, one of the things that I know is that we don't actually even have any seed companies. So there's a big range of opportunities to move forward to just make buying plants and seeds online a better process for everyone. So part of what we're trying to do with Lucen is make this process a lot easier in many ways, including aggregating seed sales from across multiple companies so that you have one place to shop and get all your pricing and stock information and plant variety information in one place. Not only will that allow consumers to save time and money, but as a company, it will also allow us to track what horticultural varieties are being sold in the country over time, and then eventually start to track what plants grow well where, even when the climate is changing. So that is kind of the goal, but really the emphasis is on the e-commerce experience itself, which is when I had the opportunity to work with this amazing team of women. And I think that's a quick summary, and you'll see the prototype, the MVP that they were able to develop in just an amazingly short period of time.
Thank you, Rachel. So our roles, I'm Millie. I was DevOps, which I'm responsible for deploying the application on the cell. I'll talk about that later. And Mia was Scrum facilitator, like our team leader and the product owner liaison. So she was communicating with Rachel frequently. And then Orion was quality assurance project documentation lead for the testing and documenting what was going on in the project. And Juliet was user experience, the design and styling and user flow. Pass it to Juliet.
Thanks, Millie. So here's a brief overview of our design process. I'll talk us through it and then we'll go into some of the steps in more detail. So we started off with doing a series of definition workshops with Rachel, where we came up with a mission statement and our user stories, which we'll look at in a second. And then from these, we built a prototype, which we then used in our user research. And from this user research, we tweaked the prototype and used it for user testing. And then from the user testing feedback, we adjusted the prototype, and this is what we based our MVP on. Next slide, please. Thank you. So working with Rachel, the mission statement we came up with for the project was, as an intermediate or experienced gardener, I'd like a way to easily shop for and find information about seeds, where I can buy, and a place where I can buy products quickly and find products that are best for my location. So our core user stories were around wanting to filter search results based on categories, growing conditions and price, being able to add products to a wish list so users could come back and see the products they'd liked later, view in their wish list items, see how many items they had saved in their wish list, and also compare where they could buy the same product from different providers. So comparing price, stock levels, and seeds per packet. Here's where we got some of our inspiration from. So we liked the idea of having a clickable grid and also a search bar where a user could type in the item they were looking for. We liked these clean product cards with key information displayed in a table and giving the user the option to filter, so different filter categories and tick boxes. And then we liked a really simple light design. So from this inspiration, we built our prototype, which clickable prototype on Figma. Here's some extracts from our clickable prototype. And this is what we took to the user testing. So there were some buttons that the users could click through to get an idea of the flow of the product. And the main feedback we got from, or the findings from the testing, we got a lot of positive feedback about the clean, simple design. Users found it easy to navigate, but they did request a search icon in the nav bar. They wanted to be able to search from every page. There was some confusion about our initial landing page, like what the purpose was for it. So we adjusted the prototype based on that. And overall, we tried to use a don't make me think design. So we kind of would refer back to existing e-commerce stores and see how they did things so that if users felt familiar with the site when they arrived. And now it's time for a demo. There should be some sound. I'm not sure what's happened to it. Millie, can you see the sound anywhere?
Sorry, everyone. I thought you could hear what I heard. I'll try that again. Go back a page. I think we can hear a bit, but it's just very quiet. If you have a way to increase the volume.
search by categories, veg, flowers, herbs, and also filter by price. A site to search and select
everyone hear that a bit
garden
better?
seeds. On the home page, we can browse our grid gallery of tiles to see what crops we have available. And we can click through one of the tiles to see the specific category of seeds that we're looking for. If we go back to the home page, we can also enter a specific crop name to search for. We can also search by a specific variety. We can search by categories, veg, flowers, and herbs. And we can also filter by price, climate, water, and soil type. And we can click on the individual product to see the individual product page where we have an image gallery. And at the bottom of this page, we also have a comparison table of providers where we can see the price, seeds per packet, whether the product is in stock, and we have a link to buy the seeds from the providers. We can add items to our wish list by clicking on the heart icon. And we have a little indicator of how many products we currently have in our wish list. We can go and add some more products to our wish list. And finally, we can view our wish list by clicking here, and we can delete elements from the wish list. Thank you for visiting Lausanne.
Okay, so our tech stack was Next.js, React, Chance, and styled components, and it was deployed on Vercel. We styled components for a lot of the design, and React responsive carousel for the image slider. Chance was for generating some dominator for lots of different types of varieties and seeds. And
So just a little bit about how we worked as a team. So we had daily stand-ups each day to check in with each other. We did do a lot of pair programming for some of the core features, but also worked individually on specific tasks. And especially this became more apparent in the end of the 2 weeks as we became a bit more confident, but we always came together for code review and to merge pull requests. We updated our project board frequently, and then that allowed us to track our velocity to see how we were doing. And then we clearly assigned group members and labels to our issues. We also tried time boxing tasks in the second week just to make sure that we were being efficient with our time and not kind of getting stuck on a problem for too long without asking for help or troubleshooting, and also asking each other for help whenever we got stuck too. Next slide, please. So here's our beautiful project board. So just a little bit about our sprint. So the first sprint was an actual of 28 and an estimate of 32. And then our sprint 2, I think this is actually the other way around. It was an actual of 47 and an estimate of 36. So both sprints, we underestimated how much work we had to do, but we did manage to still do a lot of work. So that was good.
I'm going to introduce a bit of what we learned through the process. There were many learnings. The main ones were project scoping and time management, communicating technical concepts and needs with our product owner. We learned about using React context for sharing state between Next.js pages, using dynamic routes with useRouter in Next.js. We automated the process of generating dummy data so that we would have data to work with to present the front end. We use the web storage API, in particular localhost, in place of a database to store items in the wish list. And we gained a deeper understanding of React state management and incorporating and correctly implementing NPM libraries such as the React carousel and Chance. The challenges we came across were deciding how to represent and store dummy data. Developing a front-end application in Next.js was quite challenging, and we learned a lot about Next.js through the process. We chose to use Next so that there would be an option to add a database later in the product lifecycle. Implementing the search functionality and the routing to the search results on a front-end only basis was also a challenge. and writing all the CSS styling. As fun as it is, it definitely is a challenge, and we did not use any CSS libraries and built a React-friendly hamburger menu from scratch. I'll pass it on to Millie.
Thank you. So what we're proud of, building the first iteration of Loosan, building all user story features, filtering through seed categories and varieties, persisting the state when an item is added to the wish list, which was great. This means that when you clicked on an item to add your wish list, it would still be there when you clicked on the other page on the wish list, and then the dynamic route links with Next.js and React responsive carousel for individual product pages. And if we had more time, these were out the scope of this project, but with more time, we would have implemented the following: to move filters to a left sidebar on desktop view, attach database, transform wish list into a shopping cart, user authentication, growing conditions for the user based on their postcode location. And this project may transform into an e-commerce application by a team of developers at Engage in Scotland. And users will then be able to compare varieties of seeds and prices from multiple providers, easy and fun to make the experience of online shopping for gardeners feel like sunshine. And that's the end of our presentation.
Amazing, thank you, team. And yeah, it's so impressive to see how many features you managed to pack into that in a 2-week build. And so again, let's celebrate the team and their success in this 2 weeks. Fantastic. So let me briefly kind of share just the last few slides just to wrap us up. And I'll try and race through these so we can get all finished for 6 o'clock. So yeah, I just want to kind of, I guess, kind of conclude this evening with kind of thinking about what's next for Tech for Better for the rest of 2022. And yeah, I guess to kind of summarize where we're at now, our cohort have just finished the kind of training portion of the apprenticeship and are moving into work with their employers this week, and the kind of larger chunk of the employment part of the apprenticeship. So completing the Tech for Better project, I think, is a brilliant kind of bridge between our kind of training and starting with an employer. And it gives our developers this opportunity to work on a real project with a real client who's, you know, expressed interest in our program and wants to learn more about product management and work with a team of developers. And alongside that, we've kind of consistently identified this need in the third sector for product management training, and especially that kind of key part of that is experience of directly working with developers. It's very rare to get an opportunity to work with a product team. And we feel like Tech for Better is this great way of kind of offering that experience for our product owners and for our developers. So yeah, we've run a number of programs like this in the past, and we're really excited now that that is a kind of core part of our core Tech for Better program that we're running for each of our kind of cohorts 3 times a year. So with that said, we'll be running another round in May time, starting in May with a view to kind of building a couple of months after that. So I think that will be around June time, if my maths is correct, and that will be with FAC23. So FAC23 have just finished our training, FAC24 starting in May. So we're really excited about that next kind of round and starting up Tech for Better once again. So with that said, if you or anyone you know might be interested in the program, if you think they might benefit from it, then please do put them in touch. We're always excited to hear from new product owners and to kind of offer up this program. If you do have any questions, feel free to email me directly. With all that said, I think we should come back to where we are today, and that really is celebrating the success of today's teams, of our product owners and of our developers. So thank you to everyone who's come along tonight. It's so wonderful to see so many different faces here and so many people from different parts of the kind of FAC community. And I guess just to kind of close us off, let's click our fingers again. Let's shout and whoop and celebrate the success of product teams. Well done, everyone.
Yay.
So let me stop sharing my screen there. Let me stop recording. But